White clouds drifted lazily above Sky City as dragons of various races flew overhead before landing to begin their shopping. Inside, Leon exhaled onto the shop's glass window and began to write the word vacation with his finger. Once, a perfect vacation had been within his grasp, but he hadn't cherished it. Now, after winning the championship, regret weighed heavily on him. The most painful part of defeat wasn't the loss itself, but the realization that it had come too late. Tears began to gather at the corners of his eyes. Outside the swimsuit store, a young girl noticed Leon's miserable state and tugged on her mother's hand. "Mom, that dragon's acting weird," she whispered, pointing at him. The woman didn't glance in Leon's direction. "Don't look. You'll catch it," she replied calmly. Leon, unaware of the passing glances around him, continued to wallow in silence. If the heavens gave him one more chance, he swore he'd choose to stay home and enjoy his vacation properly. Propping his head on his arm, he quietly closed his eyes and began to sob. If he had to set a limit on that vacation, he would have wished for 7 days. Thus ends another tale from the magnificent, tragic life of Leon Cosmode, the Empire's strongest dragon slayer. "Goodbye, vacation," he whispered between quiet sobs. Rossweisse, noticing Leon sitting apart from the kids, approached him with a new swimsuit in hand. "What do you think of this one?" she asked. Leon, still facing away from her, didn't bother turning around. "Nice," he replied flatly, having not even glanced at her. Rossweisse frowned, placing one hand on her hip and extending the other to show off the outfit. "You didn't even turn your head. Are you just being perfunctory with me now?" Not in the mood to argue, Leon finally turned, giving her a brief, narrow-eyed look. "Trust me," he said, giving a lazy thumbs up. "You look good in anything." Rossweisse toyed with the lace of the swimsuit. "Really? I feel like there's too much fabric, and it's kinda tight around the chest." She turned back toward the racks and began flipping through more options. One caught her eye, a sleek black swimsuit with lace accents. Holding it up, she turned to Leon. "What about this one?" The moment Leon laid eyes on it, his expression shifted. His eyes widened as his imagination betrayed him with a vivid image of Rossweisse in the revealing black lace, pale skin exposed under the faint steam of the hot spring. He stumbled backward, flustered, and a sudden nosebleed trickled down as if he'd been physically struck. Inwardly, Leon panicked. If she wears that into the hot spring, the dragon crest's gonna light up. And not just the crest, it'll shine all night. Clamping a hand over his mouth to steady his expression, he managed to mutter, "I don't think so." Rossweisse gave Leon a final glance before quietly turning back to the rack and hanging the swimsuit back in place. She closed her eyes and sighed. "All right, I thought you'd like this one. But honestly, I came out today mainly to get something for you. I already have a swimsuit prepared," she murmured, shaking her head. Meanwhile, across the store, a clerk presented 2 swimsuits, one pink, one yellow. Muin's eyes lit up at the yellow one, while Noah silently studied the pink with quiet interest. Rossweisse turned back toward Leon and noticed his sulking expression. Resting one hand on her opposite arm, she asked, "What's wrong? Still upset?" Leon didn't look at her. Eyes shut, he scowled like a child denied dessert. "No, of course not. Why would I be?" Rossweisse exhaled gently. "I know you earned this vacation, and I know it's not what you expected, but the date for the hot spring trip can't be changed." She tilted her head toward Muen and Noah. Leon followed her gaze. "But look at your daughters. They're so excited for this trip," she said softly. "If your daughters are happy, then shouldn't their father be happy too?" Even though Leon was genuinely glad that Muen and Noah would get to enjoy a vacation, he couldn't suppress a sarcastic chuckle. He cast a sideways glance at Rossweisse. "I'm so happy," he muttered dryly, though his expression said the opposite. Rossweisse raised an eyebrow, then suddenly smirked as an idea struck her. She leaned in, resting a hand lightly on his shoulder, her voice laced with playful mischief. How about this? I promise not to touch you for the next 7 days. Deal? For a second, Leon's mouth opened, but no sound came out. He blinked, then turned to face her, eyes narrowing. I don't believe you. You've got my hands all over you most days. You'd touch me whenever you want. Rossweisse stepped back dramatically and raised a hand in mock solemnity. I swear on the reputation of the Silver Dragon Queen. She already knew exactly how this would end. Leon gave a firm nod. All right, it's a deal. But then Rossweisse leaned in again, her breath brushing his ear as she whispered, just remember, if you can't control yourself, don't blame me. Her closeness sent a rush of heat to Leon's face. His cheeks turned red, but he quickly straightened, masking his flustered state with bravado. He turned toward her, their noses nearly touching. Control myself? Please. I'm a dragon slayer. Why would I go around touching a female dragon like you for no reason? Rossweisse laughed softly, turning away and strolling off with casual grace. But just before disappearing behind a row of displays, she paused and looked back over her shoulder. Just remember what you said, Leon. If my dragon pattern shows up even once during these 7 days, you're done. Leon grinned, folding his arms. Heh, who's afraid of who? The next day, Leon, Rossweisse, Noah, and Muin arrived at Flowing Cloud Valley. The sun gleamed over the towering mountains as their vacation mansion finally came into view. In the hotel lobby, a receptionist holding a slip of paper greeted them. You're the model champion family from St. Heis Academy, correct? Leaning an elbow against the reception desk, Leon looked off to the side, silent. He wore a white coat, accented with blue and gold stitching, his refined look matching Rossweisse's elegant white dress, embroidered with gold and adorned with a ruby at the center. Rossweisse beamed. That's right. Leon, overhearing their exchange, scowled inwardly. Champion is enough. Why add model in front of it? Must be the work of that old dragon vice principal with his self-serving schemes. The receptionist continued, explaining that all resort expenses would be fully covered by St. Heis Academy, and the family could enjoy any activities they liked without worry. Meanwhile, across the lobby, Muin stood before a large fish tank. She pressed her hands to the glass and exclaimed, Wow, these fish look delicious. Noah gave her a dry look. You can't eat these. Back at the counter, Leon and Rossweisse were finishing up the paperwork when the receptionist slid 2 key cards across the desk. Leon raised an eyebrow. Only 2 rooms? The receptionist tilted her head. Is there an issue, sir? Are you dissatisfied with the room arrangement? Leon frowned. If my daughters are sharing 1 room, that means I have to share with Rossweisse? The receptionist closed her eyes with a gentle smile. If you're not satisfied with the hot spring suite, we can also offer our exclusive honeymoon suite for couples. Leon responded without hesitation. That won't be necessary. Rossweisse turned to the children. Let's go, Noah, Muin. Okay, Muin chirped, spinning on her heel and skipping over, while Noah followed at a steady pace. Leon trailed behind Rossweisse, shoulders slumped. The receptionist watched them leave with a polite smile. I wish you all a pleasant holiday. Noah and Muin walked ahead, side by side, holding hands. Rossweisse followed, her gaze soft as she watched them. Leon, hands buried in his pockets, wore a troubled expression. He let Rossweisse walk slightly ahead and stared at her back, sighing inwardly. Sharing a room with Rossweisse again. I need to find a way out of this. With sudden resolve, he rushed forward. Muin, do you want to share a room with Daddy? Startled by his sudden appearance, Muin grabbed onto her sister. No, Daddy, I want to stay with my sister. She then raised a finger solemnly. Aunt Isabella said everyone, kids and adults, need their own private space and shouldn't disturb others. At her words, Leon froze, as if turned to stone. cracks forming in his mental composure. Thank you, Muen. You've shattered my final hope. Noah, unfazed, pulled Muen closer. I'll take good care of her. You two can enjoy your world of just the two of you. Behind them, Roswisa covered her mouth, stifling laughter. Leon, eyes shut, felt tears begin to form. Thank you, Noah, for caring so much. But Dad suggests you stop. As they approached their rooms, Roswisa handed the key card to Noah. Here's your room card. Call us if you need anything. Noah reached out and took it. I understand, Mom. Muen grabbed Noah's arm. Come on, sister, let's go open the door. Watching his daughters disappear into their room, Leon flicked away a tear forming at the corner of his eye. The children have grown up and no longer rely on their old father. Roswisa's voice pulled him from his thoughts. She waved their room key card. What are you standing there for? Let's go. Leon stiffened, narrowing his eyes. The real test begins now. Roswisa stepped into her hotel room and went straight to the French doors, pulling the curtains open in one fluid motion. Warm sunlight spilled in, revealing a view of a small waterfall pond framed by lush greenery. Near the doorway, Leon stood quietly, taking in the spacious room. He held Roswisa's suitcase in one hand, his gaze eventually drifting toward her. She glanced back at him, then gestured toward the view outside. The scenery here is pretty good, she said with a warm smile. Leon hesitated for a beat, a flicker of surprise crossing his face. He hadn't seen her this lively before. Haven't you been here before? He asked, curiosity coloring his tone. Roswisa shook her head, her eyes returning to the sunlight-dappled landscape. No, this is my first time here too. I've been busy handling the affairs of the Silver Dragon clan and haven't had much time to bring Noah and Muen out to enjoy themselves. However, Roswisa relished the chance to finally take a break from her duties. Smiling, she told Leon, "This time, I brought a camera with me so I can take some photos of them as souvenirs." The moment the word camera left her lips, Leon froze. The suitcase in his hand slipped to the floor with a dull thud. Panic flashed across his face as he instinctively took a step back. "Camera?" he muttered, unable to hide his shock. A chilling thought crept into his mind. Could it be that camera? To confirm, he hurriedly unzipped the suitcase. Inside, nestled atop Roswisa's neatly folded nightwear, was indeed a camera. "Yes, this is it," he whispered, his stomach sinking. "The one I got as a reward for winning first place in the school sports meet." Leon lifted the camera with both hands, his eyes widening as dread set in. This is bad. Stored within were photos, those photos, of Roswisa in a bunny girl costume that he had secretly taken. To any ordinary person, they might be embarrassing. To a female dragon, they were practically lethal magical weapons. If Roswisa ever got hold of them, it would be ironclad evidence, enough to guarantee his death sentence. Leon's thoughts spiraled as he clutched the camera tightly to his chest. Before she finds out, I need to hide the photos, delete every incriminating shot, then bury the evidence. Noticing his strange behavior, Roswisa extended her hand. "Give me the camera," she said. Leon grit his teeth in frustration, hugging it closer. Still baffled, Roswisa crossed her arms. "Why are you holding it like a baby?" Leon forced out an awkward chuckle, stumbling over his words. Let me take the pictures for you. I'm super professional." Her silver eyes widened in disbelief. "Aren't you a professional dragon slayer? Since when were you a professional photographer?" Slapping a hand to his chest, Leon declared, "Just leave it to me. I've been photographing my master's donkey since I was a kid." Rossweisse stared at him for a moment, sighed, and shook her head. "Fine, take the pictures if you want. There's also an open-air barbecue and a fireworks show tonight. Let's go for a walk first." Relieved that she wasn't pressing the matter further, Leon let out a quiet breath. No problem. Rossweisse and her family meandered through the lush gardens of the hot spring hotel, the air thick with the scent of blooming flowers and the gentle hum of nature. Leon, desperate to stay out of the spotlight, gripped the camera in one hand and called out with forced cheerfulness, "Daddy's got the job of capturing all your best moments today." Muen, who was skipping ahead with Noah, spun around at the sound and leapt with joy. "Great," she beamed. Noah, quieter and more reserved, crossed her arms and matched her mother's steady pace, both walking in thoughtful silence. Their first stop came into view, a majestic statue of a female dragon clad in gleaming armor, her hands resting solemnly on the hilt of her sword. The statue seemed almost alive beneath the afternoon sun. Muen eagerly pulled Noah close, wrapping an arm around her as she struck a playful pose, her face lighting up with excitement for the camera. The family then wandered toward the hotel's small zoo. Muen ran ahead, her laughter echoing as she embraced a gentle deer, its soft fur warm beneath her hands. "The little deer is so cute," she whispered. Nearby, Noah knelt down, holding out a bright orange carrot to a smaller deer with a gentle smile. "Do you want some?" she asked softly. But then, something unexpected happened. The children's eyes drifted back to their mother and stopped. Around Rossweisse, the deer had gathered in quiet reverence, drawn to her calm and serene presence. The golden light of the setting sun caught her silver hair, casting a soft halo around her as she smiled gently, her figure framed by the vibrant greenery. For a moment, time seemed to still. "Mom is so beautiful," Muen and Noah breathed together, awe and love shining in their voices as they watched her, an image of quiet strength and grace that needed no words. Their next stop was the carnival. Muen dashed ahead of everyone, stopping suddenly to point excitedly at a claw machine. Looking up at Rossweisse, she asked, "Mom, can we play?" Rossweisse's eyes narrowed with concentration, a subtle smile tugging at her lips. The claw machine was filled with small, fluffy teddy bears, their soft shapes beckoning. Leon, catching the focused look on Rossweisse's face, gasped softly. He hadn't seen her like this before. Without hesitation, he lifted the camera and started snapping pictures. On her very first try, Rossweisse skillfully snagged a prize. Turning back to Muen, she chuckled warmly, a tender glow in her voice. "Got it." Leon didn't waste a second. He zoomed in on her radiant smile and captured the moment perfectly. As he reviewed the photo, he couldn't help but feel a quiet joy. This side of Rossweisse was new, refreshing, and beautiful. Rossweisse approached him, peering at the camera screen. She looked genuinely surprised. "I thought you'd make me look ugly," she teased softly. Leon chuckled, eyes gleaming with confidence. "Don't underestimate me." Rossweisse and Leon stood side by side, waiting in line to buy cold drinks for their daughters. The line was a single file, and Leon, slightly puzzled, glanced at Rossweisse and said, "Why are you following me? I can queue by myself." Rossweisse averted her gaze, caught off guard by his words. Quietly, she muttered, "That's not because I'm worried you'll be bored." But she clearly had more on her mind. Turning slightly away from Leon's view, she held up the small teddy bear she'd won moments ago. A swirl of emotions flickered across her face. Leon noticed her secrecy and shot her a sidelong glance. "What is it?" Summoning her courage, Rossweisse extended the teddy bear toward him. "It's yours. Didn't you give me one? Last time in Sky City?" She closed her eyes, trying to stay calm, but the faint blush on her cheeks betrayed her. Leon chuckled softly, closing his eyes before taking the bear from her hand. The one I gave you was the Bear King. What you have there is, at best, a little bear cub. His teasing lightened the mood. Rosweiss wasn't amused. She clenched her fist, narrowed her silver eyes, and puffed out her cheeks in frustration. You don't want it? Forget it. I caught this with great difficulty. Leaning forward to snatch the bear back, she was too slow. Leon pulled his hand away with a grin. I never said I didn't want it. A few feet away, Noah and Muin sat side by side on a wooden bench at the carnival. Muin leaned back, swinging her legs freely, eyes fixed on the slow-moving drinks line. Mommy and Daddy are so slow. When will Muin get to drink pineapple juice? She muttered impatiently. Noah, sitting quietly with her arms folded and eyes closed, cracked one eye open and glanced at Muin. Her voice was soft, almost wistful. Actually, sometimes I envy you, Muin. Muin's head snapped around in surprise. Sister envies me? Why? Noah didn't meet her sister's eyes. Instead, she stared down at her feet, clapping them together nervously. I envy you because you can tell Mom and Dad anything, without holding back. Muin blinked, startled to hear the usually reserved Noah open up like this. Sister, you can do that too. But Noah shook her head slowly, eyes closed again. No, I can't. When she opened her eyes, they were fixed on the ground as she murmured, I'm already a grown-up kid now, and grown-up kids can't just say whatever they want. Noah hadn't always been so precocious. As the twin born just 20 minutes earlier, she and Muin had grown up side by side, carefree children under their mother's watchful eye. They had explored the world together, learning through Rosweiss's gentle guidance and the stories she read to them when they were young. To them, Rosweisse was a figure of endless strength and power, an almost omnipotent presence in their lives. But one rainy night, fear kept Noah awake. She decided to sneak into her father's room, hoping to sleep there. Yet when she reached the doorway, she stopped in her tracks. Through the dim light, she saw her mother. Rosweisse sat quietly at Leon's bedside, her gaze fixed on his still, unconscious form. The faint glow from the bedside lamp traced the sorrow etched across her face. Her usual strength was gone, replaced by a quiet, aching fragility. In that moment, Noah understood. Her mother was not untouchable. Beneath all her power, she carried a soft, fragile side. Rosweisse whispered to herself by Leon's bedside, The children are growing up so fast, managing the Silver Dragon clan's affairs while raising twins alone. It's becoming too much. I can't do this by myself. Understanding the weight of her mother's sorrow, Noah felt a fierce determination ignite within her. She decided then that she would grow up, just a little, so she could help share the burden. From that day forward, a fire kindled in her heart. She picked up books with renewed purpose, resolving to become stronger, more responsible. The desire to protect and care for her family took root deep inside her. Slowly, her childlike innocence began to shift as she tried to act more like an adult. Noah pushed herself to grow up quickly, becoming independent, mature, and excelling in her studies. All of it was to keep her mother from wearing that same sadness again. Muin listened quietly to her sister's story, then closed her eyes and lifted a finger thoughtfully. Muin doesn't really understand all the complicated stuff, she said softly, but she's really very envious of her sister. Noah's sadness melted away and turned toward Muin in surprise. What? You envy me? She gasped,